Well, Vunani has disposed of Vunani Property Asset Management for 117 million rand. Butana Khoza, who's MD of Vunani Limited, joins us for more. Morning to you, Butana.
Morning.
So, why this deal and 117 million rand? What does that mean in terms of the landscape of your business?
Well, I think that the transaction is really the result of a review of our portfolio of businesses and opportunities. I think we've always said that we want to look at transactions that are value accretive to shareholders. In this particular case, we actually haven't sold the company, we've sold the business and assets. So it's really the business that manages Vunani Property Investment Fund. That means we still retain the company. It doesn't preclude us from looking at opportunities to manage other portfolios in the property game. I think for Vunani, this is an important transaction. I don't think the value of this particular business was really reflected in the share price. And so from that point of view, I think it brings quite significant value to the balance sheet, which I think has been depleted over the years. For us, it's really about strengthening our balance sheet going forward. And it is pretty much a cash driven transaction.
Does this allow for you to change your strategy, in particular with regard to your property division?
Well, I think that, after more than 10 years of investing in the property game and managing assets in this particular space, the one thing we do have is experience and an understanding of the sector. I think what it does do is that for the short term, obviously it means that we do not manage a listed property fund. However, it doesn't preclude us from doing the same thing in the unlisted space. Certainly, we still have a lot of appetite for involvement in the property sector. As I said, we do have the experience. And so we are looking at opportunities of getting back into this particular game in the short to medium term.
You talk about that property sector. What's your assessment of it, big picture in the last couple of years, where it's been and where it's going?
Look, I think that if you look at yields, have come down quite significantly. I suppose the big question with the property sector is really what the long-term prognosis for interest rates is going to be. From our perspective, we felt that, if we look at how we've actually transacted around our portfolio, has really been relatively conservatively. We haven't really been happy to buy at low yields, and have really been cautious around acquisitions. We'd rather look for very good value rather than bulking up our property portfolios. I think that we would have seen, obviously, for some of the bigger players, like the Redefines and the Fountainheads, that some consolidation is inevitable. I think it's been a big factor from our point of view because our portfolio is relatively small. But I think there are still pockets of value out there. I think if you transact and deal carefully, certainly there's still value out there. But I think long term, perhaps we need to start looking at the rest of the continent for sources of value rather than South Africa.
The 117 million rand what will you be doing with that?
Well, I think, look, we've still got a bit of the current financial year to go, a couple of weeks. And then obviously we go into results announcements. So we'd like to have a look at how we're looking sort of in the early part of next quarter. So, we still have 2 board meetings outstanding. Obviously there will be strong consideration of how best to, one, deploy the cash or perhaps look at rewarding our shareholders who've been very patient in terms of getting returns out of Vunani.
You mentioned outside of South Africa, the rest of Africa. What have you explored there?
Yeah, we have looked at and we are looking at a couple of opportunities further north. It's very interesting what is out there. We're not obviously pioneers in that regard. I think some of the bigger property entities have been making noises about how they see value in property offshore. Less organized, less capital market activity, huge appetite, huge interest from foreign players looking for both industrial and commercial property opportunity, but they're not developers, of course. And so I think the scope for both capital market and development activity in the property space in the rest of the continent.
Butana will be keeping our eyes on your African expansion. Thank you so much to Butana Khoza, MD of Vunani Limited.